On this episode, we drink Scotch. We have technical difficulties, and shocker, we talk about kilts. Howdy doody.
Hello.
Howdy everybody out there and on the interwebs. I'm Rocky, this is Erik. This is another session of Facebook Live with USA Kilts. Today we're going to start doing a little something different. We call this the Kilts and Culture, show. Thank you.
Yeah.
We call it Kilts and Culture. We haven't done a ton of the culture. We really focus more on kilts. So we're going to just start doing some, for lack of a better term, react videos. We're going to try some different things. So this week we're going to try my favorite Scotch, Lagavulin.
Ta-da. Exhibit A.
Exactly. So we're going to get some reaction shots, or some reaction, audio and shots of Erik, and we're going to pour a wee dram for Lucas as well. And we're going to see what happens, how they feel about Lagavulin. And I'm not going to really talk about how it tastes before we actually pour this out. Here's the disclaimer. We know nothing. We are Scotch novices. I know what I like, but I don't know the right way to do things.
You don't know if it's art.
We don't know. Yeah, I can't tell if it's great or horrendous. I just know what I like. So Erik and Lucas are actually even more novice than me at drinking Scotch. They're not particularly huge fans. They imbibe on occasion, but you don't have a.
I haven't figured out if I can afford to be a big fan yet. I'm trying to. I need to set a budget goal for my Scotch habit. I think
there's some in the low end that are still reasonably good.
Did you see that? What was the whiskey that just went up for auction?
No.
It was 1926. Lucas, do you remember the full name of it? It was something 1926. It was put into the vat in 1926 and aged for 60 years, and it just sold at auction for like $80,000 or something ridiculous.
That's
more
than our budget.
Amazing. Yeah.
However, to drink said Scotch,
okay,
we need the proper glasses for the occasion.
Okay.
So we had.
Ooh.
I don't know if you guys can see that. We actually had
Here, do this.
the Glencairn glass done with our logo on it, just for fun, something to do around the shop. So we're gonna do a little bit of a whiskey tasting, or Scotch tasting, excuse me. As I said, today we're gonna be drinking Lagavulin, and
you must like it some, because there's not a lot left in that bottle there.
This is
Chief.
what we took to the last festival.
Oh, okay.
So we have a little bit left, and I have several more bottles at home, just to have bottles at home.
Cool.
And I think I read somewhere that you're supposed to, when you're doing an actual Scotch tasting, you're supposed to actually have a pinch of water in there as well to help kind of open up.
Whoa!
Just enough.
Pushing the envelope there.
Exactly.
Okay.
I'm going to steal a little bit of Lucas's there. Yeah, a little bit for me.
Okay.
I don't like Scotch.
No,
So,
apparently not.
I'm going to
This is basically the water reacts with the esters and stuff in the whiskey and helps the flavor bloom a little bit, supposedly.
Correct. So we're just going to add a splash of water.
Tiny splash.
Just a tiny splash, just to open it up.
It's very scientific pouring you're doing there.
Exactly, yes. It's about, tablespoon-ish. Tablespoon and a half. Mr. Adam, if I could indulge and have you come deliver this to Mr. Lucas.
Indulge us before we indulge.
Yes, exactly.
I'm sure, like with everything else, there's probably like a million different opinions and ideas on how to do do that too. But
all right, so Lucas, you have your glass. Lovely. All right, so how I typically do this is I'll take a sip, hold it in my mouth, suck a little bit of air through it, swallow it, and then with my mouth closed, breathe out through your nose. And you get a little bit of the flavor up in your nostrils and helps you kind of taste it better.
Max away.
So, Slashava, here's looking up your kilt. So what do you think?
I think I need to try it again for science.
Lucas?
It is peaty. It is definitely, it is very, very smoky.
Developing the palate for Lagavulin and continue to do so.
Okay.
It's an expensive palate, but it is a good palate.
Gotta start somewhere.
Exactly. Have another little taste, Mr. Lucas. And I'll also point out that we forgot to nose it before we
I did.
drink it. Okay. Well,
Doing it on camera. I was going to
I
do
just dive straight in. Like, Lagavulin done.
Okay.
All right. Reactions. Erik.
It is very smoky. It is definitely smoky. That's what came through the most for me. It is peaty. I may have tasted something that's a little peatier, but I couldn't tell you what, because it's just like somebody handed it to me. Even in my story, I like people handing me Scotch at campfires and stuff. It's kind of like, oh, okay, that's great, thanks. What is it? It's because it's 2 in the morning and they don't know the name either. But
And they've had a few themselves.
But yeah, I do like the smokiness. I guess that's supposed to be typical of
The Isle of Scotch
stuff.
is correct.
Okay,
Correct.
okay, that's cool.
Lucas?
I'm enjoying it. I guess all whiskey tastes warm in a sense. But yeah, no, very very nice. Like I said, I'm still developing the palate. Bringing in a little bit of the air into the palate really helps.
That's important with tasting.
That makes it very different. Yeah.
Yeah. And I started the. I've not done any like official Scotch. I've never been to a Scotch tasting, so I don't know what I'm doing. But I kind of discovered by accident breathing out through the nose thing really helps. Just it stays there and it sits and you just smell it for a few minutes afterwards. So if you have a good Scotch and you enjoy it, it's actually pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of a caramelly note.
Yes, I have to me a little bit of honey like aftertaste up in the top back roof of your mouth.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm definitely kind of taste that. Yeah. Any more thoughts, Lucas, on the Scotch that tastes like a burned down house?
Yeah, with honey in it.
Now with honey.
Now with honey. Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah, the honey taste is definitely there. Trying to think of what would pair nicely with this to eat.
Steak. Absolutely.
A lot of steak.
Yeah.
Okay. It makes me want my pipe.
Oh.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Although I've recently read that you should not what they call wet smoke. You should not drink and smoke at the same time. That actually increases your cancer risk.
Really?
Pipe smoking is actually the safest form of smoking you can do, and for some stats, it's actually beneficial compared to even not smoking, apparently. But don't quote me on that yet. But one of the main things that they said is it was.
You hear
it
that,
was a talk,
kids? Take up smoking pipes.
Only a pipe. Everything else will kill you. But basically, yeah, the risk of cancer from pipe smoke is it's the heat. It's the heat coming off of it. So like you shift your pipe from one side of your mouth to the other on a regular basis to help keep the temperature down, and you do not drink at the same time because the drier your mouth is, the cooler it will be, and the less you're going to be transferring the carcinogens and the heat. Yeah,
interesting.
Apparently, I know, weird, which kind of sucks because I'd like to drink and smoke at the same time, But
as you do,
absolutely.
Any more thoughts on this, Lucas, before we go bottoms up?
Brent here mentioned pairing it with Lagavulin Bay oysters. That sounds very specific.
That sounds,
He previously mentioned smoked salmon.
Yes.
And blue cheese.
I could see. Yep. Okay. I could definitely see that.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Yep.
Delicious.
Actually, cheese. I am not a fish or seafood eater.
I agree with the salmon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'll give you that.
Absolutely. Oh, now, capers and
delicious.
Can you guys do a cooking show next time?
Well, we are going to bring haggis on the show at some point.
Yep. We got to figure out how we're going to cook it and get it here to be able to eat it. That's an honest, I think we can figure it out. I think we could cook it and then keep it warm in a crock pot. Can you microwave haggis?
I wouldn't recommend it. Well, you can microwave anything. It's a question of whether you want to eat it afterwards. Just like you can eat, every mushroom is edible the first time,
like when the guys, microwave Brussels sprouts or fish or something in the shop in the back.
Yeah.
I'm picturing an exploding haggis in the microwave, and I don't know how that could skew the results of the survey, so to speak.
Probably.
Yes, but we're gonna try doing this quintessential Scottish and Irish stuff. So we're gonna bring on
and Welsh.
Yeah, and Welsh. We can bring on neeps and tatties or something. We can bring on haggis. We can bring on different types of scotches. We can bring on iron brew. We can bring on a bunch of different quintessential Irish and Scottish and Welsh foods and just give our reactions to it. So
cool.
Yep. Very good.
Let's turn off the camera now and just keep drinking. That's it.
Yep.
Short show.
Thanks
Bye.
so much.
Thanks for watching. No, okay, seriously.
Right.
Should I start off with a question then?
Sure.
All right, let's do it.
We cannot waste good Scotch.
It is. I am finding the palate is easier to decipher the longer I'm drinking it. Actually, the more it calms down.
And it kind of just it sits there, and that's the reason why I like the reason why I like good Scotch, like Lagavulin, is it just literally just sits in your mouth, and I feel like I'm getting my money's worth out of it. It's just there.
Oh yeah.
And if you don't eat or drink anything afterwards, you'll be tasting it 20 minutes later. And it's also why it tastes. Well, it tastes better the more you drink it for alcohol reasons.
Yeah, that's a different paradigm. But
it's after you've taken the first few sips, that's what's the base layer in your mouth.
Right. Yes.
So
yeah, I think that's
drinks,
exactly what I was running into. Yeah.
Yeah.
True enough.
Now this is water. I promise I'm not drinking a large glass of Scotch for the rest of the episode.
It's vodka. Okay. All right. First question I've got is from Danny Barrett, and he is basically asking for recommendations on packing kilts in luggage to minimize wrinkles when you're traveling.
Okay. It depends on the type of kilt. If you're talking about an acrylic kilt, then it's kind of more difficult. Myself personally, when I travel somewhere, I will take hangers with me as well, and I'll basically just fold the kilt into thirds like I'm wearing it, and then fold it into quarters so it's a small, effectively, cube. And then I pack it in my luggage that way. When I get to the destination and take it out, I will hang it up, and if it's a wool kilt, generally the wrinkles are just going to straight hang out of it.
Yeah.
If there's a little bit of wrinkling in it, but not too much, take it into a bathroom at the hotel or wherever you go, and just turn the water on hot and let it steam up the room, and the wrinkles will kind of relax themselves out. Polyviscose, effectively the same kind of thing happens, where I would just fold it and put it in a suitcase. I don't have my level of caring for minor wrinkles. It doesn't bother me that much on my own kilts. Now, that being said, the other ways to do it are, 1, I'll give you a product, 2, I'll give you effectively a free way to do it. We have a product on our website called the kilt roll, where you actually just roll it up on a mat. You fold the kilt in thirds, lay it down, roll it into a mat, and then you slide it into a tube that effectively looks like a billiard cue tube. So you travel with it that way, and that keeps the pleats nice and flat and wrinkle-free. If you don't want to buy that, that's fine. Take a pair of your wife's old pantyhose, not good ones, don't get yelled at, but cut the top of the leg off, cut the bottom of the leg off, and slide your kilt inside of that rolled up, and then that way it'll travel well and not get wrinkles in it.
Yeah, for me, it really depends on the degree of travel. I'm not going to worry about it as much if I'm just quickly going off to an event, or if I'm driving in a kilt. If I get a couple of soft, what I call them soft wrinkles, think it's just from light pressure, like sitting in the car for an hour or so. It's not a big deal. Now, if I'm traveling for a weekend and I'm not planning on actually putting the kilt on until like Sunday, and I'm driving on Friday, then that's another degree of care I want to take. Basically, I want to make sure that the kilt is safe, because it's going to be stored for a longer period of time on the road. I love the kilt roll. I've definitely used it many times. When I have not had access to it, I would roll it and then lay it as a roll on top of my other clothing inside the suitcase. So I have a large enough suitcase I could do that without folding. I would just basically roll it up and lay it flat. Not flat, but rolled, but on top of all the other clothes. Sure. So it's insulated, between that and the top of the suitcase. So that's another way to go. But it's the pantyhose I've never tried. I'm sure that works really well.
Yeah, it just keeps it nice and compact, and it won't unroll kind of thing.
Yeah, you do the same thing for horsehair sporns, right?
Yeah. If you have a horsehair sporn, you can do the same exact thing. Slip it inside a pantyhose leg, and then it doesn't poof out and kind of exaggerated fro hair day kind of thing.
So women's lingerie is essential for Highland wear. Okay.
Fair enough.
Wait, pantyhose are not really lingerie, are they? They're just they're hosiery. Hosiery.
I don't know what category they fall into.
I'm sure somebody will tell us. Should I do another one, or you have a question now, Lucas?
Yes. We had a question earlier. Let me scroll back and find it.
Okay.
Ryan is asking us, besides classic kilt shoes, what is a good knock-around shoe to wear with a kilt when out and about?
Solid color, sneakers.
Yeah, or hiking boots. basically. You had to do it.
Oh, stop it. These are my new sneakers I just got. Very, very plain, not a lot to them. Either black, gray, that kind of thing. That way you don't have to worry about it clashing with the kilt.
Yeah.
Generally, shoes that are like, running shoes with like 1,000 stripes on them and neon colors don't look good with a kilt. But solid color, either skate shoes, like I usually get solid black Nikes, or these are Allbirds, a new brand I tried. Just a solid color shoe.
Yeah, I have hiking boots I wear with a kilt. I have combat boots I wear with a kilt, and I have some kind of the pseudo Victorian brogue walking boots, which are kind of like ankle high walking boots with broguing on them. Those I wear for something casual but still kind of nicer looking than my boot boots. Any of those are fine. The basic common denominator between them all is that they're all a solid color. They're all simple. They're not distracting. The kilt should be the center of attention, so you don't want to have weird, neon LED lit up running shoes with your kilt. Maybe if you're wearing your kilt to a rave, I don't know. But other than that, I wouldn't do it. That's it. It's basically whatever's going to be right for the context that you're wearing it in, and the more universal and more classic the style of shoe, the more timeless you could consider the shoe, the better it's going to look.
Absolutely. Ask the question about the female shoes. The one it was effectively the same question. But for ladies.
Stephanie Bean. She was saying I have a hard time choosing what shoes to wear with my mini kilt and also with my longer regular length kilt. And what do you think about that? And I think the same basic advice kind of applies to the ladies. But you had some other thoughts on that.
Yeah. If to wear with women's mini kilts or with kilted skirts, I'd say appropriate shoe wear to the situation is the first number one thing.
Right.
Number two, same thing goes for men that goes for women. A plain, more subdued kind of shoe style. You don't want the shoes to take away from the tartan and the rest of the outfit. So black, either flats or with a mini kilt, or kitten heels with a kilted skirt or something like that. If you're going to be at a festival all day, a black pair of Doc Martens or hiking boots.
Say Doc Martens. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Docs and a mini kilt is a great look for a festival. Absolutely.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Anything else from you, Lucas?
Yes. question from John. John is asking, what is the best bet for finding a dress coat to wear with a kilt in plus size? He takes a 5XL tall shirt, so he has a hard time finding a company that actually makes coats in a larger size that would go with a kilt.
And it means a dress jacket or a coat?
He's saying a dress coat, so I would assume dress jacket.
So just dress jacket.
Yes.
That's what we're talking about. Probably custom, right?
Yeah.
Or...
If you're referring to an outerwear jacket, I'll answer the question basically two ways. If you're referring to outerwear jacket, or Lucas, is he clarifying? No. Okay. If you're referring to an outerwear jacket, then just a shorter outerwear jacket if you want to show off more of the kilt. Alternatively, like a pea coat, or like we talked about in a different episode, a more classic style, like pea coat or something like that, or an Ike jacket, which is shorter, would be a good one.
Bomber jackets.
Bomber jacket, good one for that. If you're referring to a dress jacket that you would wear with a kilt, like a suit jacket kind of thing, basically you have to find a company that does custom wear. Now, I'm not tooting our own horn, not trying to, but we offer kilts, kilt jackets, kilts, whatever, for pretty much any size, and we can do anything custom. So it may cost more because it has to be custom, but we can, any proper tailor who either does highland wear or a company that does highland wear and orders from a tailor over in Scotland, can take your chest measurement, your belly measurement, your half back, your sleeve length, all that kind of stuff, take some pictures of you, front, profile, rear, and give the tailor a real good idea, your body dimensions, your body shape, and they'll be able to make one custom for you. Some companies only carry off-the-peg styles. Other companies do either off-the-peg or custom, and it sounds like you would end up being a custom jacket size. That's not necessarily an issue. It's just a matter of it's going to take longer because it has to physically be made for you.
Yeah, you have to allow like 12 weeks.
Not quite that long.
Okay.
I'd say 8 to 10 weeks.
Okay, so
maximum.
8 to 10 weeks before you want to wear the jacket.
Yeah.
Make sure you have the order in place.
Yep.
And if you are ordering from us, we do have measuring guides on the website, and we're happy to talk over email about it. We will go as far as to recommend that you take photographs of yourself that we can send to our tailor as well. Basically, you want to be extra cautious with this kind of stuff. You got one shot to make it a perfect fit, so we want to be as detail-oriented as possible.
Absolutely.
Sometimes we will recommend that you buy a jacket off the peg and then have a local tailor customize it for you. But for someone who is extremely tall or extremely large, custom is going to be the more direct route to what you need, as opposed to, dipping your toe in the pool with a peg jacket that you modify.
Yeah. So. Anything over about a 54, 56 for the most part is going to have to be made for you anyway, so you might as well have it just be made custom.
Right.
Cool.
So what would you say is the tallest customer we ever had?
The Highland athlete dude that had the Jeep that had the surgery tore his knee out or something.
Yep.
Yeah, he was what, 6'9"?
Something like that. I remember he almost literally had the duck coming in the front door to the shop. Yep.
It's a good thing we got a bigger door.
Yeah. And the biggest waist measurement we've fit so far, I think, is it 72, Lucas?
77.
77.
Yep.
So when we say we can fit anybody, we mean it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's if you
and
go
again, we're tooting our own horn again, but
but if you go with a company,
okay.
and I'll toot the general horn. If you find a company that does custom clothing, they should be able to do it for you. There's no reason why they can't.
Right.
And it's literally they're taking material and then cutting it to fit your body shape. So it doesn't matter whether it's a kilt or a jacket or whatever. If it's custom or they can do custom, it shouldn't be an issue.
Right. True that.
Cool.
Mr. Lucas?
Yes, Cole was asking his front apron pop question. I think that was already on your list.
I believe he was asking about what to do about your front pleat.
Front apron flipping up.
The front pleat, the reverse pleat. Yeah.
Basically, the front pleat on the left side of the apron. It's a tricky one. Basically, the kilt is doing the front apron of the kilt. I'll put my drink down for 1 second. The top 2 inches are called the rise, and those on the front apron of the kilt, and frankly in the pleats as well, should be going basically straight up and down. Next, you're going to be angled for, let's say, if it's an 8-inch fell, which is the sewn down section. The top 2 inches are going to be straight. Then you're going to angle out for about 5 inches to allow for the hips, and then the bottom inch or so is going to again return to being effectively straight up and down because you want the kilt to hang flat from the rear, from the widest part of your rear end. When you're dealing with the front apron of a kilt, the left side on your left knee will occasionally kick out depending on the tapering of the kilt. You're taking the fabric that you effectively wants to do this and be a straight A line because you've sewn it that way in the center section, and you're trying to make it go back in and be kind of flat. So the easiest thing is when that happens, it either means that it can mean literally a dozen things. It could mean that the hip measurement isn't big enough. It could mean that you have the hip strap too tight. It could mean that the way that the kilt was actually ironed, the edge of the front apron was actually ironed, maybe a little bit off from where it wants to lay, kind of thing. So the easy, quick and dirty answer is, I'll use my kilt for an example. At the bottom, if you take the edge of the fabric where the pleat is, and you roll it over a little bit and expose a little bit more of the underside of that pleat, you may be able to re-iron it right there so that it doesn't kick up and kick forward.
You're kind of fighting physics.
Yes, you're fighting physics, exactly.
Okay.
That is the bane of most kilt makers' existence, is getting that part to fit properly. It's a kilt with the kick on the edge of the front apron, or B, someone with a huge waist to hip difference is the other big issue for kilt makers, but it can be lessened.
Okay.
Cool.
Hopefully that helps.
Yep.
Should I do another one?
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. Zach Castleman was asking us, he's saying he's interested in having his own personal custom tartan, and he's wondering what the average cost for tartan design services and assistance with the design is.
Sure.
So this answer would have to be specific to us, I guess, because we only know what we charge for it. But
yeah, there's a bunch of different companies out there that will help you design a tartan. Some of them will, just offer a free service or just offer a tartan design program kind of thing. Others will actually charge a fee, ranging from next to nothing to exorbitant. When we did our tartan designer on our website, we're actually just giving customers the tools to be able to design their own tartan. If you want assistance with that, we can assist you. The rate that we charge, not that I really want to go too much into that, but the rate that we charge is like $150 for a few hours of work, $300 for several hours of work, and then $500 for doing the entire thing, including registration. So it really comes down to the individual case, how much assistance you need. If you already know the basics idea of what tartan you're looking for, or you have some 5 or 6 designs that you say, I like the style of these designs, and you just want it tweaked, it depends on that for how long it would take for a tartan designer to help you.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. So we try to keep it simple.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And scalable.
Yep.
Got another one?
Mr. Lucas.
Yes, Jason is asking, is the Ulster tartan a tartan that anyone can wear? If so, have we ever made any kilts in that tartan?
Yeah, the Ulster tartan.
Yeah, we must have.
Yeah, we've done lots of tartans, or lots of kilts in the Ulster tartan. For those that don't know, Ulster is the northeastern province in Ireland. Effectively, it includes Belfast and a bunch of different counties. Can anyone wear it? Yes, there are no tartan police that are going to slap you on the wrist for wearing a tartan that you are not entitled to wear. Mm-hmm. That being said, it is a district tartan. So it really doesn't represent a family. It represents that area of Ireland. Mm-hmm. So it's not one that is, exclusive to a particular family or clan or anything like that.
Right.
Yes, we've done several kilts in the Ulster tartan. It's pretty cool looking tartan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not remembering the details on the story, but that was one that they found a specimen of it back in the mid-'60s, right? Which was actually...
I believe so, yes.
It was like in somebody's trunk in an attic.
Yep.
Classic scenario. And it became very popular very quickly. It's very appropriate if your family is of Ulster Scots extraction, but it is essentially, district tartan. That's how it's categorized, so anybody can wear it. The only person who might not want to wear it would be somebody who has a very strong affinity to Ireland, national Ireland, Southern Ireland, the Republic. That might, that's kind of, gets into possible
politics,
political weird stuff you don't want to deal with. But it's a sharp-looking tartan.
Yeah.
I'd go for it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
Yes. Michael is asking us, he's new to kilts, and he just got his first one. Is there any tradition or protocol he can use to help him decide on a particular kilt pin?
No, kilt pin, just think of it as bling bling for your kilt. I mean, there's not a lot of, outside of buying a clan crest related one, there's not a lot of protocol outside of positioning, and there's not even really a firm, it must be exactly this. There's kind of a region. But yeah, you just pick one that is, it speaks to you. Mm-hmm. A traditional kilt pin, which you don't really see much today, would be like a grouse foot, an actual foot of a grouse that they would put on a pin and affix to the kilt. For the most part, most of them are sword-shaped, and it goes about 6 inches or 8 inches up from the bottom of the kilt and about 2 inches in a straight line. Just follow one of the lines down the tartan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely a personalization kind of a thing, and occasionally someone will ask if it's okay for them to use something which is technically not a kilt pin as a kilt pin. That's fine. It's a question of like we always say, the context. There are some kilt pins which might look nicer for a more day occasion, and there might be something a little fancier, a little more blingy that you want to use for a special occasion, an evening occasion, date night, that kind of thing. I've used various things for kilt pins over the years just for the heck of it. Like if I was going to a science fiction convention or something, I have a Klingon insignia, which is actually a jacket pin. I know, I'm a nerd. I've used that as a kilt pin, and it's great as a conversation starter, and it's fun. It's a good weight for a kilt pin, actually, but that particular piece. But you can use alternative things, but yeah, the linear shape of the classic pin is the way to go. And I'd stick with a silver tone color Most guys don't wear a lot of gold jewelry or gold accents with kilts. It's usually pewters and silvers.
The buckles on the kilt.
Yeah, and the buckle. That's one of the main reasons. Yeah.
Yep.
So I would just stick with that. And we had, I think, someone on here ask about proper kilt pin placement. Do you want to roughly go over the guidelines that we usually share?
Sure. There's now, and I'll lump that into this.
Okay.
There's going back through history. Kilt pin placement has changed a little bit. Kilt pin shape has changed a little bit.
Yeah.
What you can consider a kilt pin has changed a little bit. There was a period, one of the either princes or kings, there's a photo of him, an old-timey photo, wearing a circular badge about 3/4 of the way up the kilt, or half the way up the kilt. And that was, for a period, there was no real set location where the kilt should be. And there's still really not a written law where it should be. There's just kind of convention. Convention dictates that the kilt pin would be about, again, up about 6 inches or 8 inches from the bottom of the kilt and about 2 inches in, and effectively linear, tall and skinny shape. Some people will wear circular badges as kilt pins. Some people will just, do something horizontal, or wear a piece of jewelry that means something to them, or they'll bring in, like Aidan Crawford, one of our friends, might wear something that's like, Native American, because he's part Native American,
Right.
part Scottish.
Right.
So he could wear some of that to incorporate that part of his heritage into his kilt. We're American, so, well, at least we are. I don't know what you guys are. But we're American, so we kind of tend to blend a little bit of that in, salad bowl style.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
a personal expression kind of thing.
it's a personal
part
expression.
of the outfit. So I think, I'm not sure if the camera will pick it up. I am wearing a pin today. I have this a little lower than usual. Can you guys see that on the camera, Lucas? Yeah. Because it's a kind of a long pin, but basically I did line it up. with the tartan here, so the red is framing the jewel in this, and this is actually one of my nicer, fancier kilt pins I have on. Just happen to have it today. But anything that's an abstract design, very, very modern, really.
Looks
But
nice. I like it.
Well, thank you. I can tell you where I got it if you want.
No, fine.
Okay, all right. Hopefully that answers the question. But it's don't lose too much sleep over it. Basically.
Yeah, and worst case scenario, if you're not sure, take a picture, send us an email. We'll tell you what we think.
Sure. Yeah.
We're happy to help.
Yep. Anything else, or should I do one?
I have a question for you, Erik.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
You, Lucas, have a question for me?
I do.
I'm here every day.
Wonderful.
You could ask me anytime.
Ted actually has a question for you.
Okay, that makes more sense.
He is asking, might Erik know of any authentic ancient ghillie brogues for faring, etc.? I think he means historical footwear.
Yeah, it's really going to depend on what time period you're trying to do. What do you call it? The medieval moccasins, the bog shoes. A lot of people really like those, but my understanding is that they're based on a very specific example from a very specific early period, and I'm not sure they're appropriate for every time period. They're very ubiquitous. It's easy to find them. I would check out a vendor called Boots by Bohemond. He mostly sells to the SCA, that's the Society for Creative Anachronism. He has a range of historical shoes, and depending on the period you're going for, I would suspect that for most periods, a medieval turn shoe will be what you want. Now, if you want something that's more 17th, 18th century looking, then you're starting to get into more built shoes with an actual sole, an actual heel. Very often the buckle brogues are going to come in if you're going to 18th century. So if you want to do that, there's a vendor called Townsend's, and you can check them out for some historical shoes. Very robust. They're aimed at 18th century reenactors. So think about the time period that you want to represent. You can probably get by for most of the decades of the medieval Renaissance period that people go for fair. Basic pair of turn shoes will be fine, and the dirtier and muddier and more broken in you get them, the better they'll look. So,
the one thing I'll point out is I've seen patterns online if you're crafty at all, and you can work with leather. I've seen patterns online for the style of shoe where it's basically like a bunch of little leaves kind of thing in the leather.
Yeah, that's the bog shoe.
And then the lace comes through it and you just pull it tight.
That's a bog shoe. It's I believe it's called a bog shoe because the original specimen it's based on came out of a bog in Ireland, and I believe it's Dark Ages period. I think for most of the medieval Renaissance period turn shoes, which are not really much more complicated to make. Honestly,
Right.
you can make your own turn shoes too, and you'll find plenty of patterns for those. But not hard to find. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah.
All
Now,
right.
did they have a bog running shoe model?
Yeah, but you didn't move very fast.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
A little Nike swoosh on the side, or the 3 stripes of Adidas.
Right.
Yeah.
Three stripes of Brigid.
Mr. Lucas, next one.
Yes, next one we have. Several. I've answered several here in the
We're
thread,
waiting.
so I'm going back through here.
Tick-tock, Lucas.
What are the Celt Iberian colors? Mr. Seth is asking us that.
Celtic Iberian.
I suppose Celtic nations could fulfill that in a way.
Celtic Iberian, that would be... What are the 7 nations like? All the usual ones. Breton and
Cornwall.
Cornwall.
Galicia.
I would suspect that it's the same colors as the Galician national flag. That's my suspicion. That's
okay.
I don't know offhand, but that's my best guess. That's where I would start.
Yeah.
But the each of the 7 nations has their own national flag, and Galicia has their own. I think it's like reds and golds, but I'm not sure. But I would
I want to
start.
say it's white and black.
No, that's Breton.
Breton, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's so yeah, yeah, that's what I would try. I'd try the Galician flag colors first.
Okay.
And if you find out something different, do let us know, because I always like to collect this kind of information.
Yeah. Cool.
Anything else?
Next, Mr. Erik.
Oh, I can do one.
Yep.
Sure. This is pretty straightforward. Tim Bacon is asking us, when you're buying a great kilt, does the height come into play or just the waist size?
Yes-ish. For a couple reasons. One, there's a couple mills. There used to be one, now there's 2, that are starting to weave single width. House for the great kilt on our website, we actually don't list House of Edgar's 13-ounce cloth because it's only available single width, which is like
it's not gonna
32
work.
inches wide,
Yeah,
which won't
yeah,
really
okay.
work.
Okay.
La Karen is actually switching over. They just invested in a bunch of single width looms as well.
Okay.
So some of their tartans they've actually taken away from doing double width. When you're talking about double width cloth, that can be anywhere from the range of 54 inches to 60 inches. Now, if you are a shorter guy, 54, or an average guy, 54 will be fine. If you're a taller guy, 54 will probably end up being a little bit short and a bit difficult to kind of pin the 2 pieces together up on your shoulder, just for the distance that the cloth has to actually travel. So for that, we suggest to people email us with the mill and the weight of cloth that you're looking for, and we'll kind of suggest a particular mill and say, okay, well, this one's available in 60 inches wide, and this one's only 54. If you are over 6'4", then do this one. So it doesn't matter exactly precisely. It's not the end of the world. If you're a taller guy and you get 54 inches wide cloth, it will still work. But the 60-inch cloth or bolt of cloth would work a little bit better for somebody that's taller.
Yeah, you'll be able to, basically it's about how much material you've got to do the pleating and do the over-the-shoulder piece so you can actually move in it and wrap yourself correctly in it and also be comfortable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, the pleating is more to do with the length of cloth.
Okay, sure enough. Okay.
The rest of it comes with the joining of the cloth at the shoulder.
Okay.
That's more for the height issue.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I
Okay.
just want to make sure it reaches and connects.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Lucas?
Yes. Jim is saying he's been considering getting a second kilt for quite a while now, and he likes
That's a good idea.
Yeah, he likes the ancient.
Only 2?
Only 2. He likes the ancient Fraser tartan, and he's saying it's lack of colors, so he's favoring some simpler tartans. He's upset that he missed us at Loon Highland Games. We actually weren't at Loon Highland Games.
That's why
Jim.
he missed us, because we weren't there.
Yeah, so no worries. So yeah, he was just chiming in with that, and simpler tartans. I mean, we have a lot of folks who tend to gravitate
now,
towards those.
when you say Fraser, I'm guessing you might be referring to the Fraser that's in Outlander. If that's the reference for that, there's or is there actually a muted? Okay.
Yeah.
When you're saying simpler or muted,
There's hunting tartan. Fraser hunting. There's Fraser
Yep.
Lovett. There's
Yep.
Fraser clan.
I'm getting the impression he's maybe looking at weathered and muted options. Basically, something very rustic, very oldie, crusty, in the Highlandsy.
Yep.
Hiding in the heather kind of thing.
Sure. No, it's weathered tartans and muted tartans. Well, example
Ta-da!
A
Yeah.
are kind of more my cup of tea as well. I like when there's a lot of contrast, meaning like black and white, white stripe with some black and then a bunch of shades in between. To just kind of give visual interest to the tartan. And I also like a little bit simpler tartans. This one's a little bit busy. I have on the Scot weathered tartan today. But this one's a little bit busy, but typically I like a little bit simpler version of tartans just because it gives your eyes a chance to rest and it lets each individual color kind of stand out a little bit. That's my preference for design anyway.
That's we just got in the new tartan for Kudu, and that's actually very simple and very sedate kind of tartan. And the feedback we've been getting on it has been telling us that more and more people are kind of on the same page as you, that they're looking for things that are more relaxed, kind of rustic looking and just kind of soothing in a way, as opposed to color in your face, like I'm wearing now, kind of. But so I think it's a trend for sure. I think people want something that feels that way.
I'll say this: most guys, given their preference, when somebody walks into the store and says, hey, show me, the Campbell tartan, or show me Stewart or whatever, and we lay out, modern, ancient, muted, weathered. Most guys tend towards the darker colors.
Right.
To which they will say, oh, well, I like the darker one. I don't want to stand out. And then I will reply, dude, you're in a kilt. You're going to stand out. You can't hide.
Yep.
That being said, most guys tend to like the slightly darker color shades anyway. Yeah. For me, it kind of depends on what mood I'm in.
Yeah,
if I'm,
absolutely.
There's days where I want to wear bright, shiny colors. It's sunny outside. I'm in a good mood.
Yeah.
And then there's other days where it's a little drearier, drab, and I want to wear something a little bit more muted.
Yeah, kind of homey.
Yeah.
In a way. Yeah. Yeah.
Sit by the fire and drink my Lagavulin.
That's a great idea. You got that one, Lucas?
Yes. Karen is asking us, do we have the Fraser tartan that is on Outlander?
The story behind the Outlander Fraser tartan.
No, we do not. The Fraser tartans and the tartans that are in the show Outlander are actually copyrighted. They are owned by Sony, who is the one who distributes it to stars.
They're not historical.
Correct. They're not historical. They're all variations on the Mackay weathered tartan. So we do have Mackay weathered. We can do a bunch of different weathered style tartans. There's literally 100 or so. That being said, the Fraser from the show Outlander is actually copyrighted, so you have to get that through an authorized dealer.
Yep. I actually like the Mackay weathered better, the original that it's based on.
Yeah.
It's just a tiny bit more interesting, but it's still very subdued, very earthy looking. So.
Well, there's actually 3 tartans from the show Outlander. There's
okay.
the Fraser has, I think, yellow stripe and a red stripe, and it's actually asymmetrical. There's another one that has a blue stripe instead of the red and yellow, and then there's one that's just brown.
Yeah.
And then there's Claire's tartan, which is very, very different. It's more tweedy looking. But there's 3 distinct patterns for the show for the male characters.
I think the brown one, the brownish bluish one, is probably the one that most people see.
They're all literally the same.
Okay.
Think of Mackay.
Oh, okay.
But just change the guard that's on the box to yellow on one side and a little red stripe on the other.
Okay.
The one guy has the exact same tartan with blue guards, and then the third one is effectively Mackay, just a slight. I think they don't have the guards or something, which Mackay does.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me because putting the weathered part aside, that's actually kind of how a lot of tartans have developed. Where somebody said, "Well, I like this tartan, but let's just flip it, or let's add one extra line." So it's actually the people who did it for Sony are essentially we're following in a very old tradition of tartan design where you kind of, politely steal a tartan and just say, oh, let's change it up a tiny bit. Cool,
yeah, how many tartans look like Blackwatch?
Right.
Mackenzie, Robertson, Hunting, all these different tartans look like Blackwatch, and it's just Scottish National. They just add a colored stripe here or there, and it changes the actual tartan design. So
yeah,
good point. I didn't think about it that way.
You're welcome. Should I do another one?
Sure.
Okay. After me, you come first, Lucas. Okay.
You're
John?
both equal in my eyes. I
Well,
love
thank you.
both. I
Thank you,
love
Rocky.
you both
Thank you very
equally.
much. John Klapauchi? I'm sorry if I mispronounce it, but John is asking, would you recommend coming to your store in person to get measured, or are the online instructions going to give the same result?
Sure.
I wish more people could come to our store. We're only one small shop in Pennsylvania, and we deal with people all over the country, so...
Yeah. Frankly speaking, we don't meet 90% of our customers.
Sure. Yeah.
The majority of our customers just, either contact us via email and we go back and forth once or twice. They'll call us on the phone if they have questions, or they'll just put the order straight through the website. What we are trying to do, I'm going to go kind of macro high level here for you. What we're actually trying to do on the website is give as close to an in-store experience and a personal experience that we can without you having to actually travel here. That's why we do all these videos. That's why we do all the Q&As.
Right.
We want the customers to have the advantage of speaking to us and our knowledge and interaction with us without having to travel to get here. On the website, we have measuring instruction videos. We have very, very easy to follow instructions because we know that we're not probably going to meet you. And we want to make sure that your kilt fits as best it can. And I'm very proud to say, knocking on wood as I say this, that in 15 plus years of business, I can count on one hand the number of kilts we've gotten back that have not been, sized properly. We have a very, very easy to follow instructions on purpose. Now, that being said, we've actually had customers who will say, I want to make sure I get it right. I'm going to go to Today's Man, or I'm going to go to Men's Warehouse or a men's store and be measured by them just to make sure they get it right. Generally, we don't advise that. The people in those stores are very nice people. However, they have their idea of how you're supposed to be measured, and they have their idea how they're going to do it, and they're not necessarily going to follow our instructions.
Right.
On top of that, they don't, if I'm going to be crass about it, they don't care if it fits or not. It's not their money on the line. It's yours.
Right.
So just the measuring instructions on our website really, really are easy to follow. Just double check that your tape measure is accurate and follow the measuring instructions on the website, and you won't have a problem. And if you do have any questions, again, we're always here for help. Just either drop us an email or give us a call. We're happy to help.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing, is to know that you are backstopped. We will double check things with you as best we can, and whenever we get an order in, if the measurements seem a little off to us just when we read them, we will call you, usually within 24 hours, and say, hey, are you sure this is what you want? Do you want to remeasure? About the tape measures, I do think it's a good point to make that tape measures do stretch over time. So not all tape measures are accurate. If you have a tape measure that was mom's and you just stole it out of her sewing room 20 years ago, spend $1.50, at the convenience store or whatever, and get yourself a new tape measure. It's totally worth the investment to make sure you have an accurate tape measure to do the measuring with.
Yeah, or take a retractable metal tape measure, like a carpenter's tape measure.
Yeah, that'll work fine.
And lay your tape measure next to it and make sure it matches up at the 0 end and at the 60-inch end, and it matches up the entire way through.
Mm-hmm. And best of all, have a second pair of eyes on it. Have somebody help you with the measuring, so you have another brain besides your own working on making sure everything seems kosher.
Yeah. Now, and on the website, in the measuring instructions section, we'll actually give the waist and the hips. It's kind of on you to understand the directions. Again, they're simple. The length is really the trickiest one to do. So we actually have a chart there with a waist and length comparison guide. So if you are 6 foot tall, you should be about 24 inches for the length. Or if you're 5'9", you should be about 23 inches for the length. That's also you have something to aim for. It should end up around this.
Yeah.
B, when you submit your order, we actually ask, as one of the questions when you're filling out the form for the kilt, what is your height? Because when it comes through, to Erik's point earlier, we're going to backstop you. So if you say your length is 19 inches and you're 6'8", we're going to call you and say, do you know that's a mini kilt? We want to make sure that, we can't stretch it and make it longer. We want to make sure that you're actually getting the length.
You might be showing more than you want with that particular length.
Yes, you're being a bit risque, shall we say. But yeah, we're here to backstop you and try to make sure it's a flawless experience.
Again, we're talking about how we do business because it's what we know. I'm sure there are other reputable kilt makers out there who will try and offer a similar level of service. But never hesitate to talk to them in person if you can, over the phone, email. If you're within range of our shop, by all means, we'd love to see you and come on in and visit us anytime. We do have people who travel here from easily up to like an 11-hour drive away, which is very flattering. And we want to make sure that you get the best service possible. And I'm getting all choked up. Okay. Sorry.
Too much scotch?
Probably. It's all your fault. You got a question, Lucas?
Emotions running high.
Yeah, absolutely. Kilts are very emotional.
They are. Brandon has an interesting question for both Rocky and Erik.
Okay.
He's asking, do you both ever wear trousers, or is it a kilt all day, every day?
I have kids, so if they're getting older now, so I don't have to worry about it as much. But if I'm taking somebody to the park to go on the swings or go down slides, I will put on shorts or a pair of jeans for that. Also, I will sometimes opt for jeans when I'm mowing my acreage. I won't call it a lawn because it's more of a heterogeneous biome with a lot of sticks and a lot of rocks, and I don't like to get snagged in the shins by a rock and stuff. So for occasions like that, yeah, but otherwise it's pretty much 24/7 or 7 because I do take it off when I sleep. But
I'm reasonably similar. I will say that I used to wear it outside. I wear it every day for work, period, and I work 6 days a week.
Yeah.
So every day that I'm in the shop, I will have a kilt on. If I'm going out and about in the world, if it's after work, I'll leave it on if I'm going straight there from work. And it also depends on my mood. If I'm feeling particularly social, because you will be stopped world wearing a kilt. If I'm feeling social, then sure, I'll wear it. If I'm feeling old and curmudgeonly, then I will put on a pair of jeans or a pair of shorts and just go out that way. You will be stopped. Your task that you do will probably take longer because people will want to stop and talk to you. And you are going to be the only person that they see in a kilt that day. So you are effectively representing the heritage and the garment.
Right.
So when I'm out there, I want to make sure that if that person interacts with me, that I'm not a jerk to them. So I want to make sure that I'm, taking some time to speak to the person because they're honestly interested in why I'm wearing a kilt and about the heritage and that kind of thing.
I don't think it happens to me every day anymore. I think maybe 10 years ago, you got asked questions a lot more often. People are more, it's a kilt, more these days than used to be. I think I don't want to say acceptance, but recognition is more common nowadays. But absolutely, I mean, if you're in an ornery mood, you don't want to be the guy in the kilt who is a jerk to somebody. I mean, I suppose the classic Scottish scowl could be good for keeping people away if you wanted to be. But you don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
So
pretty much.
Yeah.
Cool. Mr. Lucas, did you have another one?
Yes. Brian asks us a simple question. Trousers or trews?
For what context?
Yes.
Brian? Was it Brian?
Brian.
Brian.
Yes.
What time of day is it? What event are you attending?
Yes, Brian, you must give us more information.
Yes.
Now,
yes. Good God, man.
I will say this. Especially for bigger guys, I kind of learned this the hard way. We did the photo shoot at a local place, and I was going to be the one that was wearing a pair of trews, so I had a pair of trews made for myself. And I'm not exactly svelte, so I'm not, hugely rotund, but I'm no longer a 34-inch waist. So I put on the trews and really did not like how they looked on me. To me, trews are like a skinny man's game, for the most part.
You could probably say that.
It just looked, to me, it didn't look good on me. We kind of made it work for the photo shoot, if I do say so, but I still don't like the look of trews on bigger guys. That being said, I do have a pair of tartan trousers, worn a little bit lower around the waist and a little bit more casual.
Right.
That's fine.
Right.
But for formal, I would much prefer a kilt to a pair of trews, especially on a bigger guy.
I think that was the point I was trying to allude to with my jokes, is that...
Those were jokes?
I didn't say they were good jokes. I
love you, Ryan.
If you are wearing a Prince Charlie, or even I would say an Argyle, I would go with the trews over the trousers.
Yeah.
You could probably
absolutely.
you could do trousers with an Argyle type suit, but you have to make sure that it's cut to Saxon length as opposed to kilt length. If you're wearing a regular suit jacket or a regular tux jacket kind of a thing, what we call Saxon wear, in other words, regular Western tailoring, then the trousers should work fine. But I would definitely prefer the trews for a formal occasion over trousers for a formal occasion. For casual wear or even semi-formal, like you're wearing it with a tweed jacket for an informal burn supper, great, go with the trousers. But if it's a formal occasion, it really has to be the trews if you're going to choose between one or the other. Honestly, the kilt, though, I don't know why you wouldn't do a kilt instead, personally. I know some people prefer the trews or like the look of the trews, but the kilt is so much more dashing, and it looks good on everybody.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even bother with it.
The live stream.
Really?
Oh, let me see if we're still going.
Okay.
We're still going.
Okay.
We are still going.
Almost had technical difficulties.
No,
what I will say is about the...
I think we did. Hang on.
Okay. So I said to her, no, you put it back in the room.
No!
This is not my responsibility.
Oh my God.
Yep. Luckily, her parents were not there anymore.
Oh, stop it.
And that was the last time I ever wore a cummerbund. Sorry. Hi. We're back.
Hi, everybody. Sorry about that. We're back.
Hopefully you are too.
Yes. Not sure what happened there. Technical difficulties. So, sorry about that. We will load in another question, preloaded question that we had from before the broadcast.
Yeah, in fact, I have some of those. Okay. Scott McNew was asking us about some ancestor-type stuff. He says his ancestor immigrated to America around 1668, and he was probably a lowland Scot. Did lowland Scots wear kilts at the time, so 17th century? And would he have worn a specific tartan?
No, the lowland Scots did not really wear kilts.
Right.
Kilts were pretty much a highland thing. There weren't many clans in the lowlands that had their own tartan way back then. It was really more those savage Highlanders that were wearing kilts until was it Queen Victoria?
Well, it's kind of I think there's definitely and take everything we say with a grain of salt because the history on this stuff gets murky. A lot of people like to say that it wasn't until the London Scottish Society in the late 18th century and then later George IV's visit to Edinburgh, and then after him, Sir Walter Scott, that kilts became a national identity thing. And that's part and parcel with the Victorians going crazy for everything Tartan and Queen Victoria. But the popular turn of phrase is, after Sir Walter Scott, we were all Highlanders. That basically it was a Highland custom, and everybody started to adopt it once nationalism became a thing in the 19th century. Lowlands, you have family affiliations. You don't really have the clan system in place in the Lowlands, at least not that I'm aware of, or at least not to the degree. Again, I'm an amateur historian, not a tried and true one. So I would suspect that a Lowlander from the 17th century was not wearing a kilt. Okay. And specific clan tartans, of course, we know didn't really develop until the 19th century. So
absolutely.
Does that help? Hopefully that answers. How are we doing, Lucas?
Good.
We have some peeps back?
Yeah, we
do.
Cool.
Lovely. Welcome back.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate
Sorry
your
about
patience.
that for all who are just tuning back in. Not sure what happened, but we're back.
Okay. Any questions from those folks yet, Lucas?
Nope.
Okay. I'll keep going with Scott had also asked us a follow-up question. He's under the impression that most, if not all, Mick or Mac surnames are Highland names. Is that true, or is Mick Mac pan Scotland, or is it just a Highland name?
We're going to speak in very, very broad generalities. So none of this is an absolute rule. So I'm prefacing this statement with all of that. If you look at a clan map of Scotland, the majority of the clan, the Micks or Macs, are from the Highlands. There's a notable exception of Macduff, I believe, is actually on the eastern coast of Scotland. Now, that being said, not all people in the Highlands were Micks or Macs. Mick and Mac is the Irish and the Scots Gaelic for son of, just like O means son of. So that's kind of where that came from. But in the Highlands, you'll have Stewarts and Campbells, McDonalds, and everything else up there who obviously are not Macs. But in the Lowlands, they're mostly just regular names, no Mick or Mac, except for Macduff on like clan map type of research that we did.
Okay. There you go. In a nutshell.
Yep.
Lucas?
Mr. Lucas.
John Cameron may have missed the beginning of when we were talking about this. He's asking, can I measure myself properly for a kilt, or should I see an expert?
You can measure yourself properly.
Yeah.
I will preface this with this statement. Use the instructions from the kilt maker that you are going to order the kilt from. So if you're ordering from a company in Scotland, use their measuring instructions. If you're ordering from us, use our measuring instructions. Don't mix A and B. The measuring instructions that we have on our website are very, very easy to follow. So it's not very difficult for how to measure for the waist, hips, and length. We also have, we're here 6 days a week. We're only a phone call away, or email us if you have any questions. If you can travel into the shop to be measured, great. Please do. We'd love to meet you. We'd love to show you everything we have. If you can't, then just do it through the website, and honestly, we won't have any issues. And we'll backstop you if we do think there's an issue.
Yep. Very much.
Cool. Mr. Lucas.
Yes. David is asking us, how hard is it to have a kilt hemmed?
Not exceedingly hard. I will preface this answer by saying that we only work on kilts that we have made. So if your kilt was made by another manufacturer, check with them or go to your local tailor or your local dry cleaner with a tailoring service and ask them how much it would cost to be hemmed and how it's hemmed. Hemming a kilt for us, we have a blind stitch machine which will actually sew effectively invisibly. So we would iron up the bottom 1.5 inches, 2 inches of the kilt, and then use the blind stitch machine and actually hem the bottom of it. Cost-wise, you're looking at about $30 roughly, $30-$40 somewhere in there for most tailors to be able to do that for you.
Now, that said, there is... Hey, I said that said. That's your line. That said, there is a reason why most better quality kilts are not hemmed. You want to touch on that real quick? Because I'm wondering why you need the kilt hemmed or why you want it hemmed.
It may be a hand-me-down.
That's
or
what I'm
like
guessing.
that.
Maybe it's a hand-me-down or it's a band kilt. They tend to get passed around.
Yeah.
But generally.
Generally, it's when you're hemming a kilt, there's kind of a sweet spot. If the kilt is 1/2 inch or 1 inch too long or less, then you do not generally want to hem it. Just pull it up a little bit. If the kilt needs to be hemmed 2.5, 3, 4 inches, then it's not really good to hem that. Here's why. It's if you only hem a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch or 1 inch, the bottom of the pleats, you're actually doubling the thickness on the very, very bottom of the pleats. And they tend to want to kick out when you're walking around. And even if you try to iron them flat, if there's only a little bit hemmed at the bottom, they tend to be stiffer and want to kick out. If you're hemming up 3-4 inches, you're shortening a good bit of the kilt, which means it's probably was made for somebody either much taller or much taller than you. That being said, the fill, the distance from the top of the kilt to the widest part of the rear end, you can't really shorten that because it's actually sewn in. So if you have let's use this as an example, a 24-inch kilt, which is made for somebody 6 foot tall, and you want it hemmed to 21 inches or 20 inches, the fill, the sewn down portion, is going to go past the widest part of your rear end and just kind of hug your rear end differently, and it's going to, when you sit down, the kilt's going to want to ride up, or you're going to split the seams at the bottom of the fill, so that's something you don't generally want to do. That being said, if you need to hem the kilt 1.5 inches or 2 inches, it's kind of the sweet spot where it's enough is tucked up underneath that you can iron it firmly and it will sit properly at the bottom of the fill, or the bottom of the selvage in the back. But it's still the fill of the kilt is still long enough. It's not too long for somebody with that. Maybe a 1/2 inch long, but that doesn't really matter too much. A full inch longer, it's starting to get a little bit too long.
Yeah, you don't want to mess up that proportion, that key proportion, basically, between those two sections.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Very good.
Mr. Lucas.
Yes, Josh is asking us if we have any words of advice for him. He's on the fence about purchasing a kilt. He's still relatively new to kilts. He just purchased one, but it ended up being a big discouragement because the kilt was subpar and started falling apart within a few hours after he received it in the mail.
Oh.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's not from us, or else he wouldn't be asking us to purchase a second kilt. What I'd say is what I say to customers in the store, at the risk of sounding like a salesman: buy the best kilt you can afford without having to put a second mortgage on your house. If you are buying, trying to get by with just the bare minimum, but your expectations for quality are higher, you're generally going to be displeased, and then either you're not going to wear the kilt as much because you don't like it, or worst case scenario, like you may have found out, sounds like you found out, you just threw your money away. So if you buy, basically the quality level you're actually looking.
I think we just lost it again.
Damn.
Lost feed again. Yep.
Wow. What's the signal strength on the wireless network look like? And she takes the cummerbund and she puts it. Oh,
Stop it.
sorry.
Sorry about that again.
Yeah, Josh, sorry.
Yeah, we're having
Weird.
some technical difficulties here again. So I think we've been on for about an hour, plus or minus a 5-minute interruption. So we'll probably end this feed in a little bit. We'll do 1 or 2 more questions.
Yeah. Just a final point for Josh's sake, though. I would say, get reviews on the company. Do not buy off of Amazon or eBay. And when you're looking at the specs for the kilt, make sure they're giving you detailed information. For instance, even just the fabric content. Make sure it's actually 100% wool. Make sure that they're saying that the wool is sourced from the UK, or that it's 100% polyviscose and it's not acrylic. Things like that. It comes down to doing a little bit of homework and check reviews. Absolutely check out places like the Facebook groups, Traditional Kilters, Brotherhood of the Kilt, Kilted United. There are lots of Facebook groups where you can literally just go on there and ask and say, hey, who do you guys like? And you'll get lots of opinions, lots of leads that you can then follow up on your own time, so you feel confident getting the kilt you want. Cool. Make sense?
No, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's basically vet the company you're looking to buy a kilt from.
Absolutely.
We are happy to give referrals. We're happy for anyone to look up any reviews of our company. I have nothing to hide. We're very, very proud of what we do, and we stand behind our work 100%.
It's more like buying a car than going out for fast food or buying a T-shirt.
Yeah, you're
at a
buying
festival.
something. Yeah, you're buying something custom. You want to, and it's it's an investment. So you want to make sure that it's what you're getting is what you're expecting.
Yeah. Cool. Good luck. Anybody there?
Nope.
Folks are joining us again.
Okay.
Again, guys, if you're just joining us, really sorry. I'm not sure what's going on. So we're going to answer 1 or 2 more questions, and then we're going to finish up here. So if anyone has any questions you want to ask, load them in quick.
The question just came in from Benjamin. Benjamin, you say not acrylic. Can you talk about the problems with acrylic?
Who?
Sure. Acrylic is a man-made fiber, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But acrylic, it depends on the mill that's weaving the acrylic. There's acrylic that's very, very densely woven, where it's really, really, really tight. The majority of the acrylic fabric that's woven for kilts is a little bit looser woven, so it's kind of floppier, has less of a body or hand to it. And the looser woven it is, the more air can come in it, and the more, frankly, it becomes a fire hazard because it is a man-made fabric. Does that answer that?
I think it basically does. The problems with acrylic is it is often used as a filler material when a fabric manufacturer is trying to do things on a tighter budget or make a cheaper fabric. So they'll put some wool in, and then they'll throw a little acrylic in there just to save
Or a lot
cost.
of acrylic.
Or a lot of acrylic. Acrylic does not breathe. It will retain odors. It is not as easy to clean. And yeah, it will, if you drop an ember on it, take it from one who camps a lot, it will melt, and it's nasty.
Yeah, you don't want it to melt to you.
Basically the breathability is the I think the biggest problem. It's not comfortable after a while if it's at all warm, and it will pill. On top of all that, it will pill. If you think about Think about a cheap sweater that you've ever bought, or clothes you see in a thrift store, like sweaters and hoodies and stuff, where you got that pilling on it. Chances are, the more pilled it is, the more likely it is. If you look at the label, that's acrylic. So there are man-made materials that wear better. This is why a lot of the industry for us has gone to polyviscose, which is a polyester and rayon blend. So it's much sturdier, much hardier, and it's treated better, so it's easier to clean.
Yeah.
But I would avoid acrylic at all costs, personally.
Costs. I see what you did there.
Okay.
Cool.
Unless it's a Halloween costume. If you're gonna wear it once
Yeah.
and throw it away, then whatever. But if you really want a garment you can actually live in,
Yeah.
then yeah. Should I do one?
Yep.
Okay. Since we're talking about things like acrylic kilts, we had a question about wearing a kilt to a Ren fair. What are the best things to pair with a kilt for a Ren fair look? The acrylic made me think of that because I know a lot of people wind up finding acrylic kilts at Ren fairs and don't realize what's going to happen to it. But
just because of the price point.
But as for a Renaissance look or a Ren fair look, what would you recommend?
Highland shirt, or Jacobite shirt, they're also called.
Yep.
A grandfather shirt's another, quasi-historical looking shirt that'll work well with it. A simpler sporran, day sporran, a leather sporran, a pouch style sporran, something that looks more rustic.
Yeah.
Shall you say?
Yeah.
Or shall we say? For kilt hose, darker colored hose would probably work better. Generally, Ren fairs are going to be outside and muddy and that dirty and that kind of thing. So lighter colors are going to show off dirt more.
Mm-hmm.
Shoe wear, effectively wear what's sensible. You can wear the higher boot moccasin-y kind of things
boots, yeah.
and things like that. Or if you're just want to be out comfortable for the day, just a pair of hiking boots.
Yeah, boots that are basically durable and nondescript. I would say my favorite kinds of accessories for doing fair would be, again, like you said, a ghillie shirt, a Jacobite shirt, and I like brown accessories more. I think black is as common a leather dye historically as brown, but brown feels more historical and old worldy. Yeah. Avoid brighter colored metals. Go for the darker pewtery kind of stuff. Black embossed brown accessories like a two-tone sporran, those look really cool. And I would not wear a sash. That's something I always recommend. We've said before that basically a sash, you'll see a lot of guys at Ren Fair wearing a sash, but that's actually a woman's garment. If you want to be historical, do the great kilt thing. If you want to be more fantastical, then do a modern kilt and accessorize it with other stuff, but realize that from a traditional standpoint, a sash is a woman's garment. I do think the grandfather shirts are awesome for a steampunk look, and these days fair is just as much fantasy as it is historical. So if you want to do a steampunk look with a kilt, the grandfather shirt is fantastic for that. And what else was I gonna say? Oh, antler handled skin do. I would go with a antler kilt pin. Yeah, basically if it feels like you could make it yourself, then it's gonna look better for Ren Fair.
Chieftain's vest.
Yeah, that's true. Chieftain's vest is awesome.
Yep.
That'd be the exception to the brown thing. Chieftain's vests are very, very good accessory.
Yep.
Cool. Okay.
Very good.
You got anything, Lucas?
Nope. All right, we'll do one more.
Okay. Any preference?
Nope.
Okay. Should I wear a kilt to a wedding if I'm only an attendee?
Sure. Yes, I'll say yes. You can wear a kilt to a wedding if you're only an attendee. That being said, depends on how well you know the bride and groom. If you are good friends with them and they know that you wear kilts and they're encouraging you to wear a kilt, then absolutely wear a kilt to the wedding. If you are not sure, or if it's your wife's cousin and you don't really know them all that well, you may want to ask, because heaven forbid you upstage the bride on her special day. You don't want to incur the wrath, as it were. So emotions are running high that day in all directions. So you don't want to be the one hitch that, no pun intended, the one hitched to the wedding. So you want to make sure that it's going to be generally accepted and welcomed at the wedding. You don't want to have anyone, freaking out the day of.
Yeah.
That being said, you also want to make sure that you're not upstaging the groom. So if it's going to be a more casual type wedding, then don't wear a Prince Charlie and a dress sporran. If it's going to be more casual, maybe a tweed vest and a kilt and that kind of thing would suffice. If it is going to be formal and you are going to wear a kilt, then a Prince Charlie and a dress sporran and those kind of things would be more appropriate.
Yeah, I agree. Basically, yeah, try to take a cue from the whatever material they put out about the wedding itself. Try and read very carefully into that. If you know anybody in the family who knows them, then ask.
Yep.
If you're not sure, ask.
Yep.
Very simply.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Very good. Well, thank you all for sticking with us. For those who stuck with us through the technical difficulties, we do this the first Friday of every month. So please log back in or check your Facebook page for our Facebook Live in November next month.
Yep.
Also, if you don't follow our Facebook page, please follow us and hit the option for see first up in the following thing, just to make sure you're getting all the videos and all the content and all the contests that we're putting out there. That being said as well, if you haven't signed up or done the free kilt contest video yet,
oh yeah,
that ends in a week
October
or so.
14th.
Yep,
Yeah.
October 14th.
Yep, you
so
still have a
be sure
chance.
to check that out. Cool.
Cool.
Very good.
All right.
Until next time, boys and girls, Slàinte mhath.
Slàinte mhath.